play again. Okay. I'm trying to think if there was some other questions. I think you got to some of the ones that I got from some of my colleagues.
Anything at all?
Well, is there anything else, since you're going to be gone for the next 5 weeks, that maybe hasn't quite come up yet at the ad hoc committee that you think like alders should be aware of, or points that are maybe not quite getting hit?
The only focused area that the Bureau Committee hasn't considered relates to governance. Mm-hmm. And for the reasons I mentioned related to donors, I think it's very important that a majority of the new governing board be self-selected by the board as time goes along, and that they have deep roots in the community and the ability to support the Overture financially. I think that having a majority of appointees, either by the mayor or by a process that's public, would be very difficult as it affects general fundraising, because the confidence of donors in a publicly run organization to be nimble, mm-hmm. to react quickly, to take advantage of new trends or new themes or new programs isn't as high as it would be in the private sector.
So you're suggesting, what would be, in your opinion, a good size for a governance board going forward, and what would be the composition between, say, public, like, appointees either from the mayor's office or from the council, and folks from other sectors, understanding that a large portion of what this board will be responsible for is that fundraising effort?
I don't have a particular number or proposal, but I think if the city had somewhat in proportion to its contribution to the annual budget, $1.4 million out of a $14 million budget is 10%. Capital might be upwards of $800,000 on an annual basis. Something in that rough financial range, 25, 20%, 15%, I think would make sense in terms of reaching out to the community and having people raise the amount of money that's going to be necessary.
You've been involved with a lot of different groups and boards. What would be kind of an ideal, what works well in terms of size for a board to govern something like this? What would work poorly? I would assume too big or too small is a bad thing, so where is kind of the happy middle?
I'd say roughly 13 to 21 might be a range to look at, and that the people selected would be capable of going to, credibly, the donor community over time. There won't be much of a role they'll be asked to play in selecting the performances or in determining the mission. Mm-hmm. It's very broad and it's very community engaged. But to look for those who will help support the mission beyond governmental organizations would be a very important skill set to have on that board.
Sweet. You've been involved with this for a long time. Have you been seeing the information come forward at the committee? Have you been seeing all the information you'd like to see so far come forward at the ad hoc committee? Do you think that the ad hoc committee has been getting kind of the full picture?
I do. I think that, and the people who have appeared are ready to answer additional questions, detailed questions or timing questions. But I think that the facts and the background and the sequence of events for what a good decision needs to be made will be available by the time the ad hoc committee concludes its work.
So you think that the council will have enough information to make its decision?
I very much do. I think if there's a duplicate effort to do the research that AMS did, very similar conclusions are likely to be reached. There is a suspicion among some that this was a hired gun outfit, that the outcome was foreordained. That certainly wasn't the case. There were quite a few areas where a great deal of attention and changes in some of the earlier thoughts did take place because of the facts that they were bringing to bear. And I hope that suspicions about their not being straight with the committee or straight with the community or straight with Overture just erode over time. I think their work is very thorough and very well grounded.
Do you have any concerns about either the resident companies or the labor groups? And because at this point they haven't really gotten a seat at the table. Now it's supposed to be that they'll have a chance coming up here at one of the next ad hoc committees. What would you be looking for to hear from those groups?
I just want the best outcome that is sustainable in the future. And if there are new ideas or if there are sharpening of existing ideas, so much the better. The leadership of most of the resident companies have been involved along the way in one way or another, and certainly members of their boards have been involved in discussions and conversations along the way. And the alternatives involving employees and unions have been discussed for a long time, and those are hard issues. They're issues on which there are a number of ways that they can be resolved, but I'm confident that we can get there and still have a successful, future-oriented overture that will enrich the community.
Shoot, I had a question. Let me think here a sec.
Okay.
Well, here, let me hit stop because we're at like 6 minutes.